Wow! Andyan pala kayo. Yan, medyo slow motion naman yung look away natin ngayon. Para naman iba. Ayan na, kamusta na kayo mga ka-GMRC, mga kakamping, ka-Isko, lahat yan. Lahat ng mga ka-Pacman, ka-Antman, lahat yan. Kamusta kayo dyan? Ayan, alam ko na, miss nyo na naman ako eh. Ayan na naman tayo. Kaya, upon popular demand, we're back to our Barcelona sporty style. Kamusta kayo dyan? Yan, kamusta kayo dyan? O yan, may orange book na ako ngayon. Medyo hindi pala tugma sa damit ko ngayon. Pero itong orange book ang magiging notes natin. O yan, dito tayo magna-notes sa mga discussion natin. Para mukhang talagang classroom talaga tayo dito. Although, usually, I don't have any notes. I just go spontaneous. Pero para naman medyo formalize natin, magna-notes tayo. Alright? O yan, seryoso tayo ha. So today, sabi ko nga, may marami tayong pag-usapan. Mr. GMRC, Unity Opposition, Richard Gomez in the house. You know, kung may Papa P, yung kabila, si Richard G naman ay nag-endorse naman doon sa kabila. Tapos may Barreto ka pa na parang nag-endorse na rin sa, perfect attendance. Kamusta kayo dyan? Tapos medyo pag-usapan natin yung mga alternative surveys. Tangerous surveys. Tangerous surveys. Pag-usapan natin yan. Kasi in this survey, the fight is more closer yung fight. Not more closer. Closer yung fight. More competitive at it's more like three-way race. Now, mamaya natin pag-usapan if I believe this is more or less something that tumutugma dun sa mga trend lines na nakita natin or hindi. Basta for me, what's interesting is that on the surface, mukhang lahat ng surveys are transmitting a similar fundamental message. Pero kung titignan mo talaga, malaki yung differences sa mga surveys pagdating sa yung mga sub-demographics, yung mga voter preference volatility, among others. Ayan. Kamusta kayo dyan? Ayan, natutunan nyo ba? May natutunan ba kayo so far? Kahapon, pinag-usapan natin ng interregnum. You know? Interregnum. Medyo high level na tayo ngayon. Antonio Gramsci, interregnum, Tatay Digong. You know? Shout out naman dyan sa mga kaibigan natin dyan. Mga friends natin, si Arjan, si friend natin dyan, cousin natin dyan, si Marco. Ayan. Kamusta naman kayo dyan? Wag niyo ako i-block ha. Ayan, shinout out na kita, Arjan, my friend. Ateneo colleagues, yun. Uy, nanalong Ateneo. Lakas na Ateneo ngayon, ha. Wow. Tinalo yung Lasal. Yung mga employers natin, ha. Ateneo versus Lasal natin, ha. Ayan, ha. Ayan, baka naman babalik naman tayo sa UPS, Iba na tayong Okay. Alright, ayan, ha. Puntahan natin itong mga ka-GMRC. Pag-usapan natin, ha. Kailangan ko bang research? Nasaan yung natin dyan? Assistant natin dyan. Pakiilabas yung mga quotations at i-breakdown, analyze natin. Talagang feel ko talaga tong mga the sporty style DJ in the house vlogger. Ayan, okay. As of 2:51 p.m. April 13, di pa naman tayo na-block ni Okay naman, wala naman ako sinasabi. Iba naman nagko-comment sa akin. So ito mga ka-GMRC, pakinggan nyo ha. Ito pang huling, hindi huling. Latest. Huling also can means latest, diba? Hindi necessarily the last, right? Di ba tama, diba? Alright. Ito pang sinasabi niya. Ito ka-GMRC, makinig po kayo dito. Mahalaga ito. A selfish scheme. Yun, talagang Shakespearean. Scheme talagang mahilig gumamit ng word na scheme, ha? Pwede naman ibang words, di ba? Pwede. Networks of conspiracy. Mga ganon. Alaman na. Okay. Behave na ako. Ayan. Serious. Okay. Behave na tayo. Ito pong sinabi mga ka-GMRC, makinig po kayo. The call for unity to defeat one particular candidate is a selfish scheme to unite under the candidate issuing that call. Wait lang. Wait lang, sino ulit ang nag-propose ng unity formula last year? Wait lang. Woo! This is interesting. Decency, decente. Deserve some respect even from arrogance. Talagang Shakespearean. Hindi na, iba na eh. Medyo ibang level na to. Medyo Byronite. Hindi na Shakespearean, Byronite. We will finish the race because it is the Filipino that we are fighting for and no one else. So yan, talagang para sa bayan. Yun. So, eto po, mga ka-GMRC. Mga ka-GMRC, yung mga hindi nag-GMRC dyan. Okay kayo dyan. So, in short, Senator Lacson is saying no way, highway pagdating sa any proposal for a united opposition dito sa final stretch of the race. If I'm not mistaken, the Leni camp also the other week said na essentially they have given up on trying to form a united opposition. So, ang point ko naman is, chill lang. No one is calling for someone to step down. Sabi ko nga, baka pag nag-step down pa yung iba dyan, pupunta pa kay Lamano. So, what's the point, diba? So, hindi ko alam what's going on here. Kaya, nag-post tayo na, can someone tell someone? Na-relax lang. No one really is calling for him to withdraw kasi nga, no need na. Baka nga, pupunta pa dun sa isa lahat ng yan. Kita ko nga, yung nag-reply sa akin, biglang shinare ng mga, mga kano natin dyan. Mga perfect attendance friends. Yun. Uy, nakita ko yung kay Anthony Taberna ba yan? Yung vlog niya kahapon. Pinapanood ko kanina mga 4 a.m. Hindi pa masyadong obvious, diba? Yung mga OFW natin na mga kapatid. Ang dami sa kanila, bumoto kay BBM talaga. Ang lakas ni BBM sa mga OFW sa base din sa some of the initial reports that we're seeing. And I'm not surprised because President Duterte also has done very well among OFWs. Of course, I'm regularly abroad more or less, so I get to interact a lot. Tsaka, minsan nagmamaritas lang ako dun sa linya. Siyempre, lalo na yung mga airports sa Middle East, pag uuwian sa Pilipinas, yung connecting flights, nako po, ang haba ng pila. So doon, nakikimarites ako, kamusta po kayo dyan? Tapos kunyari seaman, kunyari nag-work dito. Ayan, sense ko talaga. Maraming napagod talaga sa system. They're just looking for something radically different. And in this sense, the back to the future populism, nostalgic populism of the Marcos, this is really appealing to a lot of our OFW brothers and sisters. Not to mention, of course, marami sa kanila nagre-rely dito sa mga online na nakikita nila. So, I'm not sure kung nagbabasa sila ng ating mga columns or anything. I don't think so. Baka naman yung vlogs lang natin. Oo. Pero, ayan Darren, Singson, huwag kang mag-troll dito. Umalis ka dito. Okay nang bali dyan. Sabi ko, seryoso tayo dito. Huwag kang mess up dito. Umayos ka. Darren you're not welcome here. Alis rin. Ay, wait lang. Nag-insult ka ba or hindi? Okay lang ba mag-interpret kung insult niya na bahala dyan. Huwag tayo dito. Seryoso tayo. Okay. Balikan natin itong issue. Si Sharp. Alam mo yung kay Robert De Niro? Yung ganon. Yan. Naka-Robert De Niro tayo dyan. Kung mag-troll kayo dyan, kita ko kagad yan. Naka-laser eye. Ganon. Style. Boom. Okay. Balikan natin ito. So, of course, marami din sa kanila na nagre-rely sa Facebook, sa mga online, TikTok, etc. So, I'm not surprised na, of course, alam natin anong narrative ang dominant sa social media. The narrative that is dominant sa social media is that kasalanan ng mga dilawan, ng mainstream media, ng Amerika, lahat ng nangyari masama sa ating bansa, at yung mga hindi nandun sa side na yan, ay lahat ay anghel, ganun. Okay, gets na natin yan. Alam na natin yan. At marami pong naniniwala sa ganyan. Ay, ganun talaga. May mga natulog sa pansitan, may mga hindi ginawa yung assignment, tuloy the chickens are coming home to roost. Okay. So, sabi ko nga kahapon, kung kakaroon dito ng, may pens, may ballpen na tayo, may zeros na tayo. Sabi ko nga, kung magkakaroon tayo ng dito, united opposition, the only viable one I can see is really Senator Manny Pacquiao and Leni working it out. because they're the only two candidates na medyo na-converge. Yes, Senator Pacquiao was PDP Laban's president for a while. Yes, he was expecting to be endorsed as the candidate of PDP Laban. Yes, siguro he was taken for a ride by the president who kind of said baka Pacquiao could be our next president. Yes. But in fairness, since I would say April last year, the break has been quite significant. And kung titignan mo si Senator Pacquiao has been the one who has been very strongly going against issues of corruption, against yung ating soft-peddling. I could have used another term but not that politically correct. Soft-peddling doon sa West Philippine Sea dispute pagdating sa China. At nakikita natin yung rapport ni Senator Pacquiao and Vice President, duly elected Vice President. Ulitin po natin, duly elected Vice President Leni Robredo ay napakalakas. So I think the convergence is strongest between these two. The rapport is strongest between these two. Pacquiao really came from admin side much closer to the opposition than any other major candidate. And sabi ko nga, meron siyang, I think, at least 12 points dyan sa Mindanao. So double digits siya sa Mindanao. So I think if he withdraws, he might be able to push his Mindanao support more to Leni than them going to the current frontrunner, supposed frontrunner, former Senator Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. No? So yun ang nakikita ko. Pag-usapan natin si Isko shortly. Papuntahan ko itong Tangere survey mamaya. Kasi nga, now, I'm not gonna comment on the methodology, etc. I have to do more research to see kasi I'm not very familiar with these survey agencies and all. And alam natin, yung mga mobile, mga online surveys, you have to really conduct it in a very careful way. Otherwise, off the charts na yan. Off the rail, off the charts, off the radar, lahat na yan. Okay. Pangalawa, ito, puntahan natin itong issue ng itong issue ng celebrities! Yun Papa P! Nag-endorse. Wala pa nangyari. The next day, ito na, umaangat na yung mga support base, mga celebrities. Nasaan na pala si Andrew E? Diba? Meron silang picture with Sarah without H nun, and meron silang music doon, diba? Ayan, hindi ko alam mga kay Andrew E. At saka si si Ocho Ocho. Si Bayani ba yun? Diba ano rin yun? Oo, supporter din ng yun. Oo. So ngayon, ito basahin natin. Low-tech lang tayo. Google natin ano sinabi niya, ni Richard Gomez. You know, Matini Idol. Of course, ang kanyang, of course, we know that Lucy Torres, where she has stood vis-a-vis Bongbong Marcos, yung mga Tony Talk style interviews nila, etc. So alam na natin yan. So, although some are siguro thinking Richard Gomez would be much more neutral on this issue, etc. Pero, ito. Na-fact check pa siya. Naku po. Yan, na-fact check po siya. Parang may sinabi siya. Ito double check natin. Parang na-fact check siya about Senator Marcos, the only one helping Ormoc or something like that. Again, I'm just double checking this. Mahirap na. Ito, tignan natin ulit yung endorsement. Ito. So, Ormoc City Representative, Congresswoman Lucy Torres Gomez, and Mayor Richard Gomez. Of course, nag-endorse na po sila kay Senator Bongbong Marcos. Sabi nila, he's a man who is a poster boy for unity. Ayan, unity. Unity po, yan ang sagot sa lahat. Ito ang magpapakain sa atin. Unity po ang magdi-defend sa atin sa West Philippine Sea. Unity po ang sagot sa lahat ng problema natin. Sabihin mo lang yung word na unity, matapos lahat ng problema natin. Sabihin mo lang unity po, mawawala yung ugat ng problema, lahat ng corruption. Kalimutan na natin, conviction, everything, real estate, lahat. Unity po ang sagot sa lahat. So, balikan po natin sinabi dito. He's a man who's a poster boy for unity. Talagang wow. He offers unity, healing moving forward. Wow, talagang very rejuvenating. We always say that it is an act of God, the president is his destiny. If it's in God's will for this man to be our next president, I know that he will be the best that we ever have in this country. So best ever, potentially, ang magiging presidency ni Bongbong Marcos. So, ito po yung kanilang endorsement, among others. May nakita ako na parang there's an implication na parang hindi tumulong yung iba, na si Marcos lang tumulong. I have to double check it. So ito, I want to be fair. So, but I saw some fact-checking going on there. Alright. But so far, ang nakita natin dito is open endorsement. Now, alam naman natin yung sinabi naman ni Papa P, di ba? On the issue of unity. You know, it's easy to talk about unity, pero you cannot bring unity if ikaw ay isang divisive person, or kung may baggage ka, or you bring out a certain mindset that is not really the best for a country that wants to be both democratic and progressive, right? At ang unity ang gusto mong maramdaman, and mararamdaman mo yan if you have competent leadership, perfect attendance, if you have a leadership that is conscientious and compassionate. Yan. Uy, naka-red naman yung ano natin. Huwag tayong ganun. Tingnan nyo yung red. Red siya. Okay. Alright. Balance. Okay. Ayan. Tapos, nakita po din natin, wala na, banat style na tayo. Nagbabasa na lang gano'n. Dati mga gano'n na, talagang soft, diretsong talk, 30 minutes, boom, boom, boom. Pero alam mo, pagod na pagod ako after. Pabalik na ako sa trabaho, parang, napagod ako dun ito mas relax ng ganito, yung parang naka-chill lang dito. Nagchismisan lang tayo dito. Ayan. Hoy, huwag kayo maniwala sa ganyan look up ko pang international tayo. Nabasa niyo ba yung article ko, Nikkei Asia? Nabasa rin yung article ko sa The National about Asian geopolitics and Russia's pivot to Asia. Basahin niyan. Baka nadadala lang kayo dito sa mga natin dyan, mga vlogger look BBM po ako. Ito ay ayon sa Inquirer, yung report about actress turned politician. Claudine Barreto. Yun. Nag-express po siya ng support. Yun. Tapos naman yung sa Cebu, si Madam, na may meeting with Isko ilang beses, may meeting ganon, sa kabila, ganon. Mga BBM din na endorse, maraming government na endorse. Tapos parang meron tayong newspaper dyan, at least one, some would say two, na parang, nire-rehearse, ano bang magiging headline natin after election day? Landslide, tornado, tsunami, torrent, inevitable victory. Yan talagang pinapraktisan yung mga headlines. Talagang hindi talaga mind conditioning yan. Hindi talaga preemption ito. Hindi talaga. Parang, ano lang talaga. It's just a practice in syntactic excellence and Shakespearean prose. Ito po ang ginagawa ng mga ibang newspaper dyan. Mga very, very objective people. Ayan na tayo. Alam mo, inisip ko, mag Jon Stewart style na lang tayo. At the rate we're going, mahirap na seryoso itong ina-analyze natin Parang nasasayang lang ang analysis ko na seryoso. Napakaganon tayo, multi-level analysis, convergence of factors, interregnum, tapos ganyan lang yung level ng Wala, mag-satire na lang tayo. Yan. Uy, wala nang troll i-call out ko kayo dyan. Umayos kayo dyan huwag kayo mag-troll dito. You're not welcome. Thanks naman dyan sa mga ating ka-GMRC talagang pag may pasaway dyan, kaagad. Yan, talagang respectful po tayo. Adults po tayo dito. If you cannot act like an adult, you're not welcome here. Alis mga trolls. Alis. Although, of course, sometimes gusto ko kayo nandyan. Alam mo bakit umaakyat ang engagement natin? And I like trolling trolls. I'll tell you what. That's one of the skills I learned in the past 6 years is this. Tanggapin mo talaga, hindi mawawala yung mga trolls, mga haters, all of whom are like lowbrow stuff. But, if you troll the troll back, masaya pa. Makiat pa yung engagement natin. Kaya thank you very much din sa mga trolls natin for keeping us a little bit more spicy in our discussions. But not too much. Okay? Not too much. Huwag kayo mag-feeling dito. This is my platform, so huwag kayo magulo dito. Alright, okay. So, tapos na tayo sa GMRC. Tapos na tayo sa Gomez. Right, ayan. Ito, may notes tayo dito. Tingnan, pangit ng sulat ko. Dapat nga, naging doktor ako Medical course ang una-una ko. Okay. Nam. Ay, ano na. Ayan. Survey. Okay. Alam ko maraming nagagalit sa akin. Wala lang. Ganun talaga. Nagagalit sa akin. So na. Ay, masyadong fresh. Galit ako dyan. Ay, masyadong pa-cute. Galit ako dyan. Ay, masyadong English. Galit ako dyan. Ay, masyadong maraming ginawa, sinabi, Okay, wala na tayong pake sa mga haters na gano'n. Mga haters na gano'n, get a life. Alright? Kung wala, maghiram po kayo dyan. Marami naman pwede i-hire dyan. Ano ba? Okay, ito. Nag-intermission lang ako. Pag-usapan natin, bakit gano'n? Pag gano'n lang ako magsalita na vlogger na walang kwenta, umakit yung engagement natin. Nung tayo na sobrang ganda ng presentation, this is the 3 levels of analysis. On the first level, we have to talk about this. On the second level, this is the convergence of factors. On the third level, if you look at certain caveats, pag ganyan ako, maliit lang engagement natin. Pero kung yung mga ganyan lang, nagkakape lang, kunyari, of course, kunyari, nagsusulat lang, tapos purong mga walang kwenta yung bilang umakit yung engagement. Parang gusto niya natin, parang nagchichismisan lang tayo, no? Pero honestly, if you meet me in person, depende, you'll get 2 versions of me. Either the versions of me na talagang analyst, gano'n, or yung version na gano'n. Mukhang etong mas gusto niyo etong vlogger-ish. Sino yung looks natin ngayon? Yan. Thank you pala dyan kay cousin Marco. Ano ko, muntik na wala tong cup na to. Nandun tayo sa Ibiza. Biglang picture akong gano'n, feel Mediterranean, good looks. Biglang poof, nawala. Depressed ako ng 45 minutes and 34 seconds. Depressed ako. Sabi ko, cousin, balikan natin, cousin. Sabi, hindi, wala na yan, cousin. Andun na yan sa dagat, sa Mediterranean. Wala na. Hindi, cousin, andun lang yan sa baba. Nasa fortress kami. Andun sa Ibiza, sa taas yung old city. Talagang binalikan ko yan. Tapos nung nahanap ko dun sa kabilang dulo, sa baba ng, yung parang castle fortress Tuwan-tuwa ako. Tingin ng cousin ko sa akin, nagsasmile siya. Sabi ko, cousin, may sentimental value po ito sa akin. Malapit ito sa puso natin. Kasi nga, gusto ko pa rin isuot ito pagkasama ko yung mga kameta ko. Yan! Kaya thank you, cousin, for going after my hat and finding it together. Okay. Tama na yung stalling time. Balikan natin to. Ito Okay. Ano? Nasisipan na tayo sa kakadaldal. Okay. Nasaan na? Uy, andyan pa rin kayo. Akala ko alis na kayo. Ito Balikan natin itong Tanger survey. So, unang-una, meron akong column dyan kung saan na-interview ko one of my very good friends si Dr. Robin Garcia, who also does online surveys. And paki-check yung analysis ko ng what is the difference between online surveys and yung analog survey. So digital survey versus analog, pros and cons of both. No, of course, if you were to bet, we'll still bet on the more classic analog ones, especially from authoritative survey agencies, hindi yung mga actually lobby group na nagpapanggap na na legit na survey. Hindi yung mga ganun yung mga legit talaga, no? And then of course there's the online one. A lot of mumbo jumbo online surveys are coming out. Ang daling i-mumbo jumbo yan in terms of yung selectiveness pagdating sa yung population sample mo. Who knows ano pang mga minamasahe dyan to make it look good for certain clients. So marami dito ay commissioned, right? Hindi po libre yan, di ba? Marami dyan ay commission. At yun nga, isa pang issue kasi ngayon dun sa analog surveys, wala na daw yung media commission survey. Sabi ni Mr. Mangahas, my fellow columnist at Philippine Daily Inquirer, oy, huwag niyo kalimutan, columnist tayo. Seryoso tayong tao. Okay. So, there are issues. Nonetheless, online surveys can be done in a scientific way if you adopt certain very careful methodological approaches. No? So, please basahin yan. Ipopost ko yan sa baba. So, nonetheless, for the sake of discussion, pag-usapan din natin yung mga other surveys, including online mobile surveys, that are suggesting that there is some interesting volatility sa race na yan. So kung pupunta kayo for instance sa Manila Bulletin and Tangere survey, ayan, mag-react na naman yung iba dyan. No? Let's have a discussion. Let's be adults, no? So dito, kung makikita mo, on the surface, it looks like it's just like other surveys in a sense that the front runner is still the same. But I think where it gets interesting is, number one, the survey is conducted more regularly dahil some of the analog surveys are not conducted as regularly. For instance, Pulse Asia, SWS, they used to be, every few weeks? Nung last elections, we're not seeing that. Baka by the time na lumabas na next Pulse Asia, wala na, tapos na elections or something like that. Kasi kung i-cover mo lang ng second week of April, tapos ilalabas mo sa May na mag-election na, parang, it doesn't provide you that kind of immediacy update that we were looking for. Now, what's interesting dito sa survey niyan is that it shows some interesting volatility, no? Doon sa numbers ng the candidates and also the front runner. And it looks like the perfect attendance, non-attendance may have had some impact on his numbers. Not as significant, but some impact. So for instance, according to this Tanger survey that I've seen, support for Marcos decreased from 58%, that's almost 60%, right? 58% in January to 54% in February. So ito na yung purong perfect attendance na. And to 47% in March. So we went down by double digit from 58% to 47%, right? Now, that 47% is still within the margin of error if you try to, for instance, run it against the numbers of Pulse Asia, right? Which is also around 50%, something like that. So with the margin of error 3 to 5%, hindi po malayo. But clearly, what's interesting here is that it shows from 58% bumaba sa 47%. So that's double-digit decline. Nonetheless, I have termed this as what I call high equilibrium volatility. The numbers go up and down, sometimes quite mataas yung volatility, double-digit decline in this case, but it's still at quite a high level. We're still looking at the 40 to 60% territory. Nonetheless, it looks like the non-attendance in the elections and the perceived lack of willingness to confront the critics head-on. I mean, in fairness to President Duterte, he attended all the debates at siya pa yung nag-star with all his jet ski and all of that. At least, may tapang di ba? So, dito nakikita natin na medyo bumababa, no? From 58% to 47%. Still, mataas, but we see volatility, right? Okay? This is interesting. Meanwhile, Isko Moreno has a different position here. Because dun sa ibang surveys, Isko Moreno is third, and some of the surveys is actually third, far behind Leni in second. Here, more or less statistically tied si Isko and Leni at number 2. Therefore, ang parang labas dito is a three-way race. Now, I said the race can become a three-way race. So far, this is the one survey, right, that shows that it indeed could be a three-way race, right? So dito, Isko Moreno's performance actually further improved to 24.21% dun sa April survey nila. And potentially, one reason is his not only perfect attendance, real perfect attendance sa debates, but actually his relatively good performance in the debates. So yun ang indication na nakita natin dito. Because the updates are so regular, and you can see also the movement in the numbers. And then nakita mo the surveys also come out after the debates, so you can make certain extrapolations about ano bang impact ng what's happening on the ground, what's happening in terms of perfect attendance, non-attendance, at saka potentially movement in terms of numbers. Now, I'll go to the more important part soon, which is exactly what I've been saying over and over again. Isko has more overlap with BBM than with Leni, so an Isko withdrawal is one of the worst things that can happen to Leni. Makes it almost impossible for Leni to catch up with BBM. And the better Isko does is actually good for the opposition or alternative candidates in general, right? So, of course, if you're a supporter of the frontrunner, you would want Isko to withdraw because you can pick up much of the numbers there. And this is the survey that actually shows that, right? That what I've been saying, based on anecdotal evidence, based on some of the other data and some of the discussions we have had with folks who are doing analytics, no? Hindi Cambridge Analytics, Cubao Analytics, yung medyo legit na analytics, it really shows the overlap is huge between Isko and BBM. This is a very, very big factor. Kaya the idea of Isko withdrawing and things will look better for Leni just doesn't work. Although, of course, Isko and Leni have some overlap. And there are a number of Leni supporters who still have Isko as their second preference. Okay, so let's be very clear about that. No? Okay, so ito, puntahan natin dito. So actually, Leni's number also went up. No, so she was at around 15% in February, which is not too different. Remember, Pulse Asia put also at around that, diba? 15-16%. So medyo malapit din. So she was actually just at around 15%, but now she's up. So Leni is up dito sa survey na yan to the 20% territory. So medyo malapit na yung numbers ni Leni at Isko. They're more or less statistically tied at second. And the differential between the second place candidates of Isko and Leni is not as much, right, compared to the other surveys. The other surveys are putting the differentials at 30% plus. Here we're looking more at 20% plus, right? And as I said, ito, so, of course, according dito sa survey na Ping Lacson is at 4.75%. I'm sorry, at 4%, and Pacquiao is at 4.75%. So, statistically tied yung dalawa, right? Now, the increase in number of Robredo, also according to the survey, was also driven by her increase in numbers in Bicol region, right? And also in Western Visayas and Eastern Visayas. So, Visayas and Bicol is where Leni has been doing very well. And I think she has to constantly push that if she wants to be competitive in this race, right? And in Bicol, maintain her solid Bicol base, right? The same way that the other camps are trying to keep their solid bailiwick, no? Now, ito sa NCR naman dito, mukhang medyo statistically tied sila Marcos at Domagoso. 30+% both. Now, there was one thing I was looking for here but di ko makita dito. Sorry, medyo may notes. Hindi ko inayos ng notes ko. Sorry, ang dami natin ginagawa. No, because the interesting theory, the data here that I was really trying to look at is yung ito, according to this survey, 48.4% of Marcos supporters and 53.44% of Robredo supporters said they prefer Moreno. Kaya nga Moreno is the top second preference. So, consistent dito at sa mga ibang surveys, at least Moreno's second top preference. Now, the other thing that I wanted to also bring out here is that the overlap in numbers of Marcos with Isko is much higher than Robredo with Isko, right? So, Isko doing better is actually good for Robredo. This is what I keep on saying. Kasi one of the things I noticed in a lot of... ito, buksan ko tong pang survey dito. Sige, next time, ayan ko to. I-open ko tong iba. One second. Kaya nga sinasabi nila, yung camp nila, mga ka-Isko, camp nila, Mayor Isko, sila Ernest, among others, sinasabi po nila na actually, it's not good for the opposition if Isko withdraws for many reasons. Kasama dyan is the possibility that a lot of his votes will actually go to Bongbong Marcos. I'll pull this out and post it dyan sa baba later on para makikita nyo talaga yung overlap of numbers and all. Again, just to be clear, this is a moving target. Marami pong nangyari. It's a fluid situation on the ground. So these numbers are still moving and all. So what we're getting here is not only just a snapshot, but just some sort of general impression of what's happening there on the ground. At yun nga yung sasabihin ko na the best situation here for Leni is if Senator Pacquiao withdraws, supports her, and Leni picks up 5 to 6% there, right? And then also push it to her maximum second preference, which brings her to around 30+%. And then for Isko to pick it up 5, 10, 15% more to essentially bring BBM to the level of essentially 40%-ish. Then we can have a really close fight. Now, this is one of the surveys I've seen that is saying maybe that scenario is not totally improbable. That scenario... Now, not the Pacquiao part withdrawing, I'm not very optimistic on that, but on this becoming a more competitive three-way race. Yan po ang survey nakita ko so far. Now, I want to see more surveys. I want to see more data because I want to see more triangulation of different data. Kasi hindi ako umaasa sa isang survey lang. Ang ginagawa po natin is we look at multiple surveys, we look at the margins of error, and tinitingnan po natin yung median or sometimes the mean, and based on that, we can make certain projections on where the race is going. Alright? So, medyo ganun po yung approach ko. So, ayoko yung style na pumipili ka ng survey mo na that benefits you. No, you look at all surveys. So, syempre, you weed out yung mga sobrang questionable. Diba? Pero dun sa mga, parang pwede na yan, ilalagay mo together, and then you come up essentially mean or median. And that gives you an idea about the lay of the land sa race na ito. Alright? Okay, there's still more that I can talk about. Marami pa tayong pag-usapan. But I thought we'll just keep it here shortly para hindi naman tayo mag-chismis masyado at para naman mag-miss nyo ako.